Story one has to be last night. Bijan Robinson, Bijan the Kingmaker, Bijan the Millionaire Maker. Shout out Samuel Shepard, won $2 million on DraftKings with Bijan in the DraftKings Best Ball, and he was at the game. I mean, just a crazy story. Head to my Twitter for more on that. And that's not to be confused with our former coworker, Sam Sherman, won $2 million on Underdog. Didn't have Bijan, but became the third person who has worked or does work with us to win Best Ball Mania. Herzig, Karain, and now Sherman. Insane stuff. But yeah, Bijan, just a truly, truly special player. Anyway, Evan, 42.9 DraftKings points for Bijan Robinson as the Falcons win. Does it against a good Rams defense that was playing starters. Did it with Kirk Cousins at quarterback. Thoughts on Bijan's game last night, Evan, and any other Falcons thoughts?
Yeah, 40-plus points in full PPR, and that catapulted him, Bijan Robinson. He started the day, Monday, as the overall RB4. That catapulted him above Jahmyr Gibbs and above Jonathan Taylor to be the number 2 overall finisher at running back in full PPR, right behind Christian McCaffrey. An awesome season. During the broadcast, Raheem Morris reiterated, Bijan Robinson is the best football player in the NFL. Raheem Morris said that, and they treated him like that because they just put the ball in his belly the entire game. Kirk Cousins had 13 completions on 20 attempts. This was the Bijan Robinson game.
Yeah, and only 21 dropbacks for Kirk Cousins. The elusiveness and the long speed of Bijan, and it's funny because so many people before the season were like, oh, Bijan's never had a 50-yard run. Bijan only has 3, whatever it was, 50-yard runs in his career. He doesn't make enough big plays. He doesn't have a long speed. It's just so random. Like you saw last year, Saquon Barkley, of course he has the ability to do long runs, 60-yard, 70-yard, 80-yard touchdowns. He didn't hit any of them, maybe one this whole year. It just flips this year. When you have small sample stuff like this, that's what can certainly happen. Falcons will play out the string against the Saints in week 18. Story 2, let's go to Chicago. Another insane Bears game. This was Sunday Night Football against the 49ers. We talked last week about how this could be the Luther Burden true breakout given the matchup, and it was. Luther Burden, 8 catches, 138 yards, 1 touchdown on 9 targets. Now, he only ran 26 routes on 46 dropbacks, did Luther Burden in this game, but still just pops completely off the screen. Evan, what do you think of Burden's breakout and Bears' loss to the 49ers?
Luther Burden is going to be a star in the NFL. I mean, I think that we've seen that. We kind of knew that it was coming, the breakout. It was just a matter of time, a matter of when. And the seas kind of parted this week with no Rome Odunze. DJ Moore was clearly sick. Olamide Zaccheaus, I know I said that wrong. He was injured, or he was out. He was sick.
Yeah.
And he was out. But yeah, the Bears nailed their first 2 draft picks this year in Colston Loveland, who I think, somebody asked me, where do you think you'll rank Colston Loveland next year? I was like, as high as number 2 overall behind Brock Bowers. I mean, that's as high as Colston Loveland has a potential to get. I think that Luther Burden, we could be talking about him as a 3rd or 4th round pick next year, because the ascension of this offense has been steady and upward. And we're seeing Caleb really come into his own. I mean, this game was awesome because it was like an old Big 12 game. There was no pass rush on either side. It was like watching Brandon Weeden. I know this is a throwback, but you go back and watch Brandon Weeden in the Big 12 at Oklahoma State just all day long to throw to Justin Blackman, and they just put up prolific numbers, and that's what this game wound up. 80 points. There was only 1 sack in the entire game. The last 3 Bears games have been super, super entertaining. 3 of the last 4 Bears games have been super, maybe 3 of the best 5 games all year.
Listen, I love Colston Loveland, but Evan, you realize we have Trey McBride, we have Brock Bowers, we still have George Kittle. Let's not get too crazy here. And I love.
I'll be interested to see what happens with Cole Kmet if they bring him back. I mean, he's still a contributing player, but I mean, Colston Love, I think he's going to be the best receiving tight end in the NFL. We know that his quarterback's trajectory is upward. I don't even know who the Cardinals quarterback is going to be next year. I don't want to say anything bad about Trey McBride, okay? I mean, he just set the NFL record for most receptions for a tight end. He won the MFN Mackey in college. But I mean, Colson Loveland, I think, can absolutely end up in that tier.
Yeah. So what we've been begging for them to do all year, they finally did here. Colson Loveland and Luther Burden combined for 19 out of the 42 targets. They used these guys as feature players. And by the way, back to Burden, man. You guys know how much we love this, or respect at least the yards per route run stat. Luther Burden is at 2.82 yards per route run as a rookie. That is completely unheard of. That is the most in the modern era for a rookie wide receiver. Guys on the list below him for setting the record for yards per route run as a rookie are all massive hits. Odell Beckham, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase. Like, the best receivers have massive yards per route run as a rookie, and that is exactly what Luther Burden did.
And we don't even need to compare and contrast him against rookies. Like, he has the third best yards per route run in the NFL today, behind only Jamar Chase and JSN.
Pretty amazing. Bears are the NFC North champions. They will either be the number 2 or number 3 seed in the playoffs. Ben Johnson did suggest they'll play their starters this week, but we're keeping an eye on that. The article, by the time you guys listen to this, the article will be up about Week 18 motivation, and that will stay up. Through Sunday, and we'll keep updating it as we get more information about who's going to play and who's not. Luther Burden banged up his quad on the very last play of the game. Sounds like he's going to be okay, but if he sat out in Week 18, would not shock me whatsoever here. Again, Bears will either be the 2 or the 3 seed as the NFC North champs.
If you listen to Luther Burden's post-game stuff, he was like, I was more exasperated by the fact that we just lost the game than actually injured. So I feel really good about Luther Burden playing in Week 18. And as you mentioned, Ben Johnson said they're definitely going to play starters.
Story 3. Let's go to Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, surprisingly to me at least, could not go with this back contusion. They turned it into the big dog show. Remember, 1 week ago, the Ravens took a ton of criticism for not using Derrick Henry down the stretch in Week 16. In Week 17, they're like, you know what? You guys were right. 36 carries for Derrick Henry, 216 yards, and 4 touchdowns as the Ravens beat the Packers. I mean, just a legendary Dehember game here. Evan, what do you think of that and the Ravens win over the Packers?
Yeah, Dehember is not just a nickname. Like, that's a real thing. In the month of December this year, Derrick Henry led the NFL in rushing yards per game. And all time, he ranks number 1 in rushing yards per game in the months of December and January. This is per NFL research. Number 1, Derrick Henry. Number 2, Barry Sanders. Number 3, Eric Dickerson. Now we have this must-win game coming up for Baltimore against Pittsburgh. It will be Derrick Henry's 32nd birthday on Sunday.
Derrick Henry, will be 32. Never misses games. At age 31 this year, 287 carries, 1,416 yards, 16 touchdowns. And that's with the offense breaking down around him, Lamar missing games. I mean, just an incredible outlier, unmodelable, crazy career and season for Derrick Henry. I did think that Tyler Huntley played a really good game, way above his expectation. They were very conservative throwing with Huntley. He was only 16 for 20, but only took 1 sack, doesn't turn it over, gets the ball to the big dog 36 times. As Evan said, Steelers play the Ravens on Sunday night. That is the final game of Week 18. The winner goes to the playoffs as the AFC North winner in the 4 seed. Loser goes home. I think Lamar's going to play in this game, but I thought Lamar was going to play last week. So I really have no idea at this point.
A lot of bad vibes.
Yeah.
A lot of bad vibes. Like, he's having a major fallout with John Harbaugh, stuff coming out from the Baltimore Sun. I know it's Mike Preston. I've been reading Mike Preston for years. I mean, he's always had good nuggets, but he's more of like a columnist, than necessarily a reporter.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we've heard things separately as well. I mean, this is not just made up. Like, there is a potential rift between Lamar Jackson and the organization right now in
Yeah,
Baltimore.
we'll definitely talk more about that as the weeks go on here. Story 4. Let's go to New Orleans. We've talked about Tyler Shuck a bunch already on here over the last month or whatever. Also talked a lot about him on Friday, DFS stuff, because Shuck doubles with Olave and Juwan have been very strong. But it feels like Shuck's performance in Tennessee on Sunday kind of hit the mainstream for the first time. 22 of 27, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Tyler Shuck and the Saints have now won 4 straight games. And now we have Nick Underhill and ESPN writing think pieces about Tyler Shuck. Should he be the long-term starter for the Saints? And Tyler Shuck is like plus 140 or so, plus 130 to be the offensive rookie of the year. So it's been a rapid rise. I feel like the mainstream media is finally getting their heads around Tyler Shuck. Evan, what do you think about that? Would he be your rookie of the year, and any other Saints thoughts?
I think he would be, and I think that he definitely would be. He's, as you mentioned, almost neck and neck right now with Ted McMillan for NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year at DraftKings. If they were to beat the Falcons, first of all, I think that the Saints are playing themselves out because as you mentioned, they've won 4 in a row, which is the first time that the Saints have won 4 in a row since 2020. But they are playing themselves out of prime quarterback draft slot right now because they've got 6 wins. And if they beat the Falcons on Sunday, which they're very much capable of doing, they'll be 7-10, and they will be out of prime quarterback territory. And this year, there's supposed to only be 2 quarterbacks potentially at the top. Dante Moore from Oregon has not even declared yet. So it's not even I don't think that the Saints are going to end up drafting a quarterback this year. I think that we're going to get a full year of Tyler Shuck in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, and he's earned it, you know? I mean, he's played really, really good ball with not the best situation around him.
Last 7 starts, he's completing over 70% of his passes, 7.7 yards per pass attempt, almost 20 rushing yards per game.
Yeah.
To me, like, I don't, could you draw a comparison? I think Ryan Tannehill, Daniel Jones, maybe on that spectrum, maybe better than Daniel Jones. Ryan Tannehill, I know we don't all have super fond memories of him, but he was a quality starter for a long time in the NFL.
Yeah, and Tyler Shuck didn't even like use his legs in this game. We've seen him use his legs before. He's more mobile, I think, than people give him credit for here also. The only other guy I'd throw into the mix, and I know like the market doesn't have him close, but I think Jackson Dart at least deserves consideration for offensive rookie of the year. He played 3 more games than Tyler Shuck. Dart has, I believe, 22 touchdowns, accounted for 22 touchdowns in those 13 games. Shuck has certainly been better lately, but I think it's closer than maybe the market has it between those guys. Any thoughts on that? Yeah.
I agree with you. And Jackson Dart just had a great game on Sunday against the Raiders. One of his best games of the season.
Couple more small Saints notes. They did get a look at Audric Estime here, and shout out to everybody who was on this stuff on our team. Taysom Hill in week 16 was because it was his last home game. In week 17, they're on the road. Audric Estime gets 41 of 54 snaps. Taysom Hill just 7 snaps. And I thought Audric Estime handled himself very well. So anyone playing week 18 DFS, we will be talking about Audric Estime's role here. And last note on the Saints, Chris Olave, man, finishes the season as the 6th best fantasy wide receiver. Only Puka Nacua, JSN, Amon-Ra, Jamar Chase, and Pickens scored more points this season than Chris Olave. One of the biggest hits. Obviously, we had a ton of misses, but one of the biggest hits for us this season was certainly Chris Olave there in the middle round, wide receiver. Just a massive
steal.
Season.
What a steal Chris Olave was. I mean, nobody wanted to click him because of the concussions, because of the quarterback concern. What we wound up doing is just betting on talent and betting on targets. I mean, he had a clear path to 1 million targets, and he wound up capitalizing on that. Audric Estime, he was my pull-up play in week 16, and he did nothing because they did the Taysom Hill thing. Yeah. This is kind of what I was hoping for. You know, I think he finished with, 15 touches. He had a long touchdown at the end. He was running away from Titans defensive backs, 32-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter. But, I mean, and he's been cut by multiple teams, but this is why he keeps getting chances, because he's a big back who can hit big plays. That's what he did during his Notre Dame career.
All right. 5th story of the week comes from Cincinnati. we again got a glimpse of what the Bengals season could have been if Joe Burrow stayed healthy. Burrow goes over 300 passing yards again. Bengals smoked the Cardinals for 37 points in an easy win. But the story of the day, and really one of the stories of the fantasy playoffs, was Chase Brown, who popped off for 32.1 more DraftKings points. Remember, in fantasy semifinal week, he had 32.9 DraftKings points, and in quarterfinal week, he had 16. It's just like a reminder of how long the season is. I mean, I loved Chase Brown, but I felt like he was dead in September when Joe Burrow went down. And he ends up finishing as fantasy's number 11 running back in points per game, half PPR. Since Jake Browning was benched, Brown is the running back 8 in half PPR. And that's even though they've given Samaje Perine so much work, and Chase Brown has still been so productive. And I think that's more of a testament. It's certainly a testament to Chase Brown's ability, but also a testament just how good this offense is and can be when Joe
Juggernaut.
Burrow is in there. So yeah, Evan, any thoughts on Chase Brown and the Bengals win over the Cardinals?
Yeah, I'm looking at the full PPR tallies right now. Chase Brown finished as the RB8 in full PPR. And I mean, I think I had him RB9 or something like that. We were super high on him. I mean, and it especially felt painful when he wasn't doing anything during the Jake Browning era because we were so high on him, because we were clicking him second round, bang, 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 every single time. But he wound up being essentially a league winner. I mean, he saved a lot of people's seasons. You could trade for him and get him really cheap at one point. But once the offense became functional, when they got Joe Flacco in there, and then obviously when Joe Burrow came back, Chase Brown was a huge, huge difference maker. I love that they got this 21-yard completion to Cody Ford, the big offensive lineman against Arizona. He used to play for Arizona, and it was his birthday. The Bengals just were able to do whatever they wanted against the Cardinals.
What a joke. But this is what happens. The Bengals ended up going 5-2 in games Joe Burrow started this season. The defense was dead last in yards per play allowed. And that's the recipe, man. Like, have a terrible defense and have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Chase Brown. And obviously that's great for fantasy.
Yep, we saw that with the Cowboys as well. I mean, when you can identify those situations where bad defense, loaded offense, I mean, that is fantasy bonanza.
I will say, like, taking round 2 running back is mostly what you needed this year. Derrick Henry, Devon Achane, Jonathan Taylor, or Chase Brown. I also liked Josh Jacobs and kind of Bucky Irving in that mix too. But overall, if you started RB or wide receiver RB in really any kind of format, like, you probably were in the mix because Henry, Achane, JT, and Chase Brown were all so good. I will say, for any dynasty bros out there, like, the fact that the Bengals used Samaje Perine so much does concern me on Chase Brown's long-term outlook. Like, if they do not see him as a true workhorse feature back, we need to at least acknowledge that as much as we love Chase Brown, the team didn't think that he should handle, 70, 80% of the touches. They were giving Samaje Perine 40, 45% of the touches at times. So I just want to note that for the long-term stuff on Chase Brown. All right. Let's go to the NFC now. Start with the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals get embarrassed, lose for the 13th time in their last 14 games. This time they get smoked by the Bengals. At least Trey McBride got the record, though, Evan. 119 catches now on the season for Trey McBride, breaking the tight end record of 116 set by Zach Ertz in 2018. McBride also caught a touchdown here. He now has 11 touchdowns on the season. Remember, he came into the year with just 6 total touchdowns in his career. So just an all-time tight end season from Trey McBride. Evan, thoughts on that or any other Cardinals thoughts?
I mean, there's not a whole lot to talk about here. Marvin Harrison Jr., who obviously has been a huge disappointment through 2 seasons, again aggravated his heel injury. And hopefully you stayed away from Michael Carter.
Yeah. So 2 things on that. They're saying it's his other heel. Like, why are they playing this dude? He's obviously out there compensating or something. He hurts the other heel. It's not like he was giving you much anyways. But once he left, then they get Michael Wilson back into the alpha role. And Maserati Michael Wilson goes 589-1. Mazda Marv can't do anything. So, yeah, just a total mess there. Yeah, Evan mentioned Michael Carter. I did think it was interesting. Like, if I'm the Cardinals, let me get a look at Corey Kiner. Like, I know what Michael Carter is. Let me get a look at Corey Kiner. They did not want to do that. Michael Carter and Amari DiMercado combined for 55 of 57 snaps. So not a great sign there for Corey Kiner.
I think that Rap Sheet reported or hinted that Jonathan Gannon might be safe. I mean, and I kind of like Jonathan Gannon. I definitely like Monty Austinfort, the Cardinals GM, but they have a 15-35 record during this era, the Monty Austinfort, Jonathan Gannon era. At some point, there's just too much losing.
Agreed. Panthers have a chance here, home game against the Seahawks, to say they're for real, silence, some of the Bryce Young doubters like me and Evan or whatever, and they can't do it. Panthers lose 27-10 at home to the Seahawks. Bryce goes just 14 of 24 for 54 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He threw for 54 yards in this game, in a huge game for them. Evan, thoughts on the Panthers' latest loss, this one to the Seahawks?
Yeah, I think that Bryce Young will every once in a while have, a streak of 3 or 4 quality games, and then he'll kind of bottom out, or he'll have a really big game like he did against Atlanta. I mean, the dude won the Heisman Trophy. He was the number 1 overall pick in the draft. He's got a level of ability, but he has so many limitations because of his size. I mean, primarily because of his size and the fact that he's not like super, he's not Michael Vick out there. So I think the Panthers are going to probably start looking in a different direction after this season. They were completely non-functional as an offense on Sunday against Seattle. It's a very good defense.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, they were non-functional. They had 139 total yards in the game. The Panthers went 1 for 11 on third down, and they didn't have a gain longer than 11 yards the entire game. I think we're going to be looking at a different quarterback potentially in Carolina in 2026.
Bryce Young has thrown for fewer than 200 yards in 31 of his 45 career games. I mean, he's like around dead last in yards per pass attempt in all 3 of his NFL seasons. So it's a mess. Now, they have a huge game against Tampa coming up here on Sunday. If they beat the Bucs on Sunday, they will secure the NFC South title and a playoff spot. There's also a scenario where they can lose and get in. If the Falcons, let's say the Panthers lose on Saturday to the Bucs, they can still get in if the Falcons beat the Saints on Sunday. So multiple ways for the Panthers to backdoor their way into the playoffs here, but certainly no one is expecting them to go on any kind of run. I do think that Bryce can play well against the Bucs. Like, we've seen him play well against the Bucs before. A lot of quarterbacks play well against the Bucs. Like, in that matchup, I do think Bryce can play well. I do. Ja'Tavion Sanders broke his ankle in this game. Sucks. I thought he's like a decent prospect. And yeah, he's obviously going to be out for the rest of the season here. Broken ankle for Ja'Tavion Sanders. All right. Cowboys. This was an incredible spot for the Cowboys here. This was the Christmas game against the Commanders. Dak ended up scoring well in fantasy, but it was not his best game. 19 of 37 for 307, 2 touchdowns. Did get an 86-yard touchdown to Kevontae Turpin. Shout out XFL. Shout out return game. Cowboys do win 30-23. Evan, any thoughts on Cowboys win over the Commanders?
It was frustrating because the Cowboys, I mean, this was an awesome matchup. I mean, I thought that both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens were going to go off in this game. Neither of them did. They both finished in single-digit fantasy points. The Cowboys just left so many yards on the field in this game, like just missing connections. And, I mean, Dak still wound up throwing for over 300 in the game. But, I mean, he could have thrown for easily 400, if not 450. They weren't sharp out there. I thought that the passing game was generally not sharp, despite the fact that Dak threw for 307.
Yeah.
Javonte Williams aggravated a stinger injury, and that gave Malik Davis an opportunity, and he played pretty well. I mean, he handled 20 carries. Yeah, no catches, but 20 carries for 103. He's shown some big playability. Remember, he had that big touchdown on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But a guy to keep in the back of your mind for Javonte Williams, by the way, is a free agent. He's in Dallas on a 1-year, $3 million deal.
Yeah. And that's what happens when these teams are dead. Like maybe Javonte Williams, maybe Jake Ferguson could have come back into the game. I don't know. But when you're already dead, like they're not coming back into the game. And so the they did announce that they're going to start Dak Prescott in week 18, but they said how we use Dak, let's make that part of the game plan that we won't talk about. So I don't know if Dak's going to play the whole game. We'll keep working on that and getting as much information as we can. Everything on motivation will flow through to the article and then to projections for week 18.
Dak has a chance to lead the NFL in passing yards.
Yep.
So he certainly should be individually motivated. I think the team will be motivated to let him lead the NFL in passing yards, especially in a season where you're not going to the playoffs. Like, that kind of stuff matters.
Yes.
Historical, statistical stuff definitely matters.
Yes, and of course we'll be all over that. We'll have the incentives and motivation article separate. Motivation at the team level and then incentives at the player level. Both of those articles will be up on the site. Lions, another brutal loss. This time, Lions muster just 10 points against Brian Flores' Vikings defense, and most painfully for a lot of people, a floor game. I mean, a true floor game from Jahmyr Gibbs at the worst possible time. 17 carries, 41 yards. I didn't know if this was possible, Evan. Over the last 5 games, Jahmyr Gibbs is at 2.78 yards per carry over a 5-game stretch. I didn't even think that was possible for someone of his talent level. Now, he still scored pretty well. He scored touchdowns. He's caught passes. But the rushing has been absolutely anemic. Thoughts on Lions' disappointing season and loss here to the Vikings?
Yeah, I was on them before the season to miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I think it went a little worse even than I was anticipating. I thought that they would finish as maybe still a 10-7 team and barely miss out. But they're going to either finish 9-8 or 8-9. The interior offensive line just wound up being a huge problem. Also, Taylor Decker was inactive for this game. They're starting left tackle. So the offensive line stuff, they were healthy last year, and their center retires and they're banged up and they're trying new dudes, and it's just the offensive line wound up being a huge issue. We saw in Philadelphia this year, we saw in Detroit, and that was the crux of the Lions the past several seasons, how dominant their offensive line was. That just simply was not the case this year.
Yeah, well, it's obviously have a ton of time to talk about stuff in the offseason, but my biggest offseason note for the Lions is how can we expand Isaac Tesla's role out of red zone only? Like, he has 15 catches all season. 6 of them have gone for touchdowns. But man, this dude can ball. Like, let's get him a real role in the offseason and get him targets. So yeah,
I agree. And we saw J-Mo go over 1,000 yards again. Amon-Ra, we know what we have in him. I mean, Sam Laporta will be back. This will be a great offense to bet on to bounce back in 2026.
Let's go to the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love could not get cleared in time from his concussion as the Packers played Saturday. So we got to see my guy, I love this guy, Malik Willis. Dude balled. I know they lost, but man, Malik Willis made so many great plays. 18 of 21 passing, 288 yards, a passing touchdown. And then he shows that special rushing, scrambling, elusiveness, 9 carries, 60 yards, and 2 more touchdowns. I mean, how does this guy not get a starting job in the league next year? I've seen so much bad quarterback play. Let me see Malik Willis for a full season. Evan, what do you think of Packers' loss to the Ravens on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of deals are offered to Malik Willis. Would it be like 1 year, $14 million deal like what Daniel Jones got? Or could he get Justin Fields 2 years, $40 million with $30 million guaranteed or whatever? I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of deals are offered to Malik Willis. I do think that you have to play a certain way, but I'll tell you what, in this game, he was not throwing checkdowns, man. He was throwing the ball downfield on throws of 20-plus air yards. Malik Willis went 6 of 7 for 197 yards and the touchdown that he threw to Christian Watson. I think that Jordan Love will be back for Week 18. But I'm glad that we got to see that little trial run for Malik Willis, and I'm with you. I think that he will at very least be competing to start next season.
Yeah, so Packers have nothing to play for in Week 18. They will be the NFC's number 7 seed no matter what. And so they already said they're going to rest a bunch of their guys. Would not shock me if Jordan Love rests again. Obviously, Josh Jacobs is going to rest. The way they handled that was just ridiculous. He surprisingly played in the Broncos game and has given them nothing in these huge games since. Also, Dontavian Wicks got hurt in this game. So, yeah, it's going to be messed on Packers projections, but I do not expect them to play their starters for
Okay,
much.
so you're thinking Malik Willis again then?
He banged up his shoulder, so we'll see. But
Yeah.
I think if he gets cleared, I think, yeah, it might be Malik Willis again, which would be fun. Rams. Rams cannot stop Bijan Robinson. Matthew Stafford gets picked 3 times, including a pick 6. Rams lose again. They're going to be either the 5 or 6 seed. And maybe probably Matthew Stafford, has punted away his chance at the NFL MVP. That's good news to Evan's ears, as Drake May is now the overwhelming favorite to be NFL MVP. Evan, thoughts on Stafford and the Rams last night?
Yeah, I mean, I listened to a lot of sports podcasts, and on every single one, they say that the Rams are the best team in the NFL. And I tend to agree with that, but when there's like a consensus forming around one singular idea, that starts to kind of bother me. And I'll tell you what, the Rams have kind of, I mean, they're kind of limping to the finish line here. I mean, Devontae Adams is injured. In this particular game, this kind of like really mattered, not just for the Matthew Stafford MVP stuff, but also for the Rams draft pick next year, losing to the Falcons, because it's the Falcons pick that the Rams have. So that hurt the Rams for the future as well. And they're going to end up, I mean, they were already boxed out of the NFC West title before this game, but I mean, they're kind of limping into the playoffs here.
Big time. And they always rest in these spots. Now, after the game, McVay did claim that they were going to play starters in week 18, but they can only be the 5th or 6th seed in the NFC. And in these spots, they almost never play. I mean, they don't even play their guys in the preseason. They almost never play in these spots. So I don't really believe McVay. I think they're going to rest. Devontae Adams obviously should rest. Blake Corum hurt his ankle here.
Yep.
He should rest.
Their offensive line is super banged up. They did not have their starting left tackle in this game. Their starting right guard, Rob Havenstein, has been on IR. Yeah. So, I mean, they're limping in. You're right. They need this off week, essentially.
I will say that getting the 5 seed means something to NFC because you get to play these dusty NFC South teams. If you get the 5 seed, you're either going to play the Bucs or the Panthers. But still, I'm not sure that is worth risking your guys who are clearly gassed in the Rams. Vikings average just 3.1 yards per play. Pathetic. Against the Lions, and they still win 23-10. I mean, you just don't see that very often. Totally inept offensive play, and you still win. All credit to Brian Flores and this Vikings defense. Vikings defense has probably been the NFL's best unit over the last month or so, with all due respect to the Texans. Like, Jets have been the worst over the last month. Vikings have been the best. So, just dominant performance. Offense still has tons of questions. Evan, what do you think of Vikings win over the Lions?
They're just playing spoiler, but goodness gracious, Brian Flores had Jared Goff's number in this game.
Yeah.
And the Vikings, they've won 4 games in a row. They shut out the Commanders. They gave the Cowboys, the Cowboys might have the best offense in the league. They gave them all kinds of problems. The Vikings, Brian Flores confused Jackson Dart in that game 2 weeks ago, and then they dominated the Lions here on Christmas. Jared Goff turned the ball over 5 times. Brian Flores needs to be a NFL head coach again.
Yeah. It's crazy. The Vikings are 8-8 despite this level of quarterback play. Like 30th in EPA per pass attempt, 31st in passer rating, 31st in sack rate. They have like the league's worst quarterback play, and they still won 8 games. I mean, they would have walked into the playoffs with something like Tanner McKee or Mac Jones at quarterback, like easily walked into the playoffs. And yes, I'm coping as I burn my Vikings futures tickets, but it's like any type of competent quarterback play, and they roll into the playoffs. But is what it is. They still have a really, really talented roster. Giants. Much to the chagrin of Giants fans, they beat the Raiders in the battle for the number 1 overall pick. Clearly, they wanted it. I mean, Dart, tons of running, including designed runs. Wan'Dale Robinson played another awesome game. 34-10 win for the Giants. That's their first road win of the season. Evan, what do you think of Giants' victory?
Snapped a 9-game losing streak. This was Mike Kafka, interim coach's first win as the Giants coach. I just was very frustrated because I love Tyrone Tracy in this spot, and he just did not deliver, and Singletary vultured him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't have any big takeaways from this game. I was just really disappointed. Wan'Dale Robinson did cap off he's still got a game left, but he capped off an excellent season.
Really incredible season, especially with everything going on around him. I mean, I didn't take Wandale enough in full PPR stuff. I mean, he was going like round 14, round 15, and I just didn't see any upside in it. But in round 14, 15, if you can earn 100 plus targets in a season, I should be taking you, and I just wasn't. Do you think Jackson Dart is like their guy? Like, do you think they'll go into this offseason when they're like, no competition, no drafting, no veteran, we're going with Jackson Dart next year?
There is no way for me to know that because I don't think that Joe Shane should be the Giants GM, and that will be whoever is their GM will make that decision. Certainly, if Joe Shane remains the Giants GM, then Jackson Dart has a better chance to be the Giants franchise quarterback, at least for as long as Joe Shane lasts. But I mean, there's so much unsettled with the Giants; it's just impossible for me to say. I think that Jackson Dart is a specific type of quarterback. He's a lot of fun. He's great in fantasy, man. He is awesome in fantasy, but he's a flavor, and the new GM has to be in love with that flavor.
Yep. Eagles go to Buffalo. Okay, they do not complete a single pass in the second half of this game, and they win. They are the first team since the 1987 Patriots to win multiple games in a season in which they did not complete a second half pass. I'm sorry, I saw that on Twitter from someone. I forgot to write down who it was. I mean, I know we talked last week about how talented the Eagles roster is. At this point, though, if your passing game and your running game are both so anemic, and they had a great matchup for the run game here, still couldn't do anything with Saquon Barkley. I'm worried the offense just isn't good enough. And the NFC is so flat. The entire league is so flat. Anyone can win in the playoffs. Eagles got to find a way to score points, though. So, Evan, what do you think of Eagles win in Buffalo?
Yeah, and I mean, I had been optimistic over the previous 3 games that the Eagles were maybe starting to turn a corner offensively and faceplant. I mean, not that the Bills did a whole lot offensively either. I mean, there was some weather that affected this game.
Yeah.
One note I had is I was listening to Brian Baldinger's podcast yesterday, and Lane Johnson and Brian Baldinger are very close to the Eagles situation. Lane Johnson went and saw a specialist on Monday, and it doesn't sound like he's going to be back anytime soon. And he is a guy who can move the needle, especially in terms of the run game.
Eagles are the 3 seed right now. They could move up to the 2 if they won and the Bears lost, but I don't think they're going to go for that. There's reports out there they're going to rest their guys, and it feels like they need a rest here, the Eagles. So, yeah, expecting to see backups for the Eagles.
I'll tell you what, their defense is killer, though, man. And I mean, this defense, Jalen Phillips had 9 pressures in this game. Like, their defense has been so elite since they acquired him. What'd they get him for? A 3rd-round pick? I want to say that was maybe the best trade deadline deal, Eagles acquiring Jalen Phillips.
For sure. Niners win a wild game over the Bears 42-38 on Sunday night. Defense being so injured / bad, offense being so elite, that thesis continues to play out weekly in a massive way. Even without George Kittle here, they get 761 from Jake Tongas. And now the Niners, Evan, with one more win, can be the NFC's #1 seed and earn a bye despite all the injuries that they've battled. And that has Kyle Shanahan in the mix, very much in the mix for Coach of the Year. So I'm curious who your pick is for Coach of the Year right now, Evan, and any other 49ers thoughts.
I am not a Bears fan, but I think I would take Ben Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah. There's like cultural things, like changing a culture. And I tend to believe that that's just, you change a culture by just winning games. But this has been like a really bad culture for a really long time because they've been losing games. To flip that on its head has been extremely impressive. What he's done schematically, what he's done with Caleb, Um, the running game, the offensive line, the draft, the way that the progression of the draft picks. I mean, this Bears draft has been insane. They got the best receiver in the draft, Luther Burden. They got I think, the best receiving tight end in the draft, at least in Colson Loveland. And they got their starting left tackle in Ozzie Trapello. And they used draft capital from this draft to acquire Jonah Jackson, who's been an absolute beast at right guard. And Ben Johnson had a hand in all of those things. So I would give it to Ben Johnson personally, and that's not because I'm a Bears fan.
Yeah, and he's off the pace a little bit in betting market. Betting market is
I
mostly
know.
Vrabel and
Liam
Shanahan right now.
Cohen.
Liam Cohen. I mean, there's a lot of guys that you can make a case
There are a lot of guys.
for this year, but I think Evan makes a good case for Ben Johnson there as well. By the way, got shot and got his Rolex back. Ricky Pearsall outplayed Jawan Jennings here. And like, that doesn't surprise me when Ricky Pearsall is healthy. I think his ceiling is way higher than Jawan Jennings. It's just Ricky Pearsall has battled this PCL, this ankle. Last year was a mess with getting shot and everything. So, and he's been in more of a deep threat role than I really want him to be. But yeah, I think,
Yep.
There's clearly something there with Ricky Pearsall. I want to see him healthy for a full season. He'll be an interesting evaluation in the offseason. But yeah, all hands on deck for the 49ers. Winner in this game against the Seahawks wins the division and gets the bye. George Kittle already said he'll be back for this game.
Yeah, Pearsall, I actually don't think that he's 100% yet because in this game he had an early 30-yard catch and he went limping off the field after that, and he came back in. I thought he was going to maybe be done for the game. He came back in, and now over his last two games, Ricky Pearsall has 11 catches on 15 targets for 181 yards, averaging almost 17 yards per reception, over 12 yards per target. He is a surgical route runner. I mean, he is nasty with his routes. And that's why you see him. He's really high in like separation score stuff, which, doesn't necessarily translate to fantasy stuff. You need the ball. I mean,
yeah.
And there have been games where he's been a decoy, but yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of ability, and you're right. He's been the 49ers deep threat.
Seahawks go to Carolina, suffocate the Panthers defensively, hold Bryce to just 54 passing yards. That moves Seahawks to 13-3 again. They'll play San Francisco Saturday night in San Francisco for that number 1 seed. I didn't have a lot of notes here, kind of as expected. Rashid Shaheed did sustain a concussion. We'll see on him, but it was just another JSN, 44% of the targets. I mean, 34% of the targets on the season have gone to JSN. I don't know what their record is, but that's got to be close, man. I mean, 34% is an insane target share to sustain over a whole season. Evan, any thoughts on Seahawks win in Carolina?
I was listening to this game on the radio driving across the Midwest again, and there's a dude named Anthony Gallo who does like play-by-play. I think he's got like 5 TVs, like a CBS Sports Radio or something like that. He's got like 5 TVs. He's watching all the games. And we butcher names, okay? We butcher players' names plenty. But my God, this guy was calling Zach Charbonnet Charbonnet. like Charbonnet. He kept saying it. I'm in the car with my daughter, and I'm like, I can't believe he keeps saying it. She's like, Dad. And it was just so frustrating, dude. Zach Charbonnet. Like, please, man. It's French. Charbonnet.
I can't laugh because I butcher so many guys' names.
I know, but this is especially brutal to call the guy Charbonnet. Anyways, in the Final Fantasy rankings, Kenneth Walker and Zach, now I'm going to call him Charbonnet, Zach Charbonnet finished like right next to each other.
Yeah, same score,
Yeah, so Charbonnet actually wound up being a decent value for where he was selected, which was usually like 8th, 9th, 10th round, and Walker obviously was a dud.
Yeah, these two teams did play. I mean, this is a massive game, obviously, Seahawks, 49ers. These two teams did play in week 1. The Niners won 17-13. I don't think that really has anything to do with what's going to happen Sunday. I mean, it was so long ago, and teams look so different now. Bucs had yet another chance to seize the NFC South. And for the 4th straight week, they can't do it. Lose to the Dolphins 20-17. Now, even if they beat the Panthers in week 18, they still might not even get in. So really, really bad run out with these losses for the Bucs. From a fantasy perspective, Evan, Jalen McMillan in the second biggest game of the season for them, with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Emeka Egbuka all healthy, it's McMillan who leads the team in targets with 9 and goes 7-1-14-0. I mean, I did not see this coming at all from Jalen McMillan back from the neck injury to be the alpha receiver for the Bucs in the biggest games of the season. Any thoughts on that, Evan, and any other Bucs thoughts ahead of Week 18?
I mean, I think the Bucs might have to make a decision on Baker Mayfield after the season. Also, it was very notable that Tristan Wirfs was out for this game because his replacement, Ben Chukwuma, an undrafted free agent rookie from Georgia State, got smoked. And Baker Mayfield got outplayed by Quinn Ewers in what I would consider to be a must-win game for Tampa Bay with, besides Tristan Wirfs, a full supporting cast. The finish that Baker Mayfield has had this year, it really he played pretty well. I mean, he actually wasn't playing that well early in the season. He had so many turnover-worthy plays early on, and it just kind of caught up to him. And even when all the dudes came back, he didn't get it together. Just an extremely disappointing season, I think, for Baker Mayfield.
Just to follow up on the wide receivers, Baker dropped back 50 routes. Baker dropped back 50 times in this game. Routes were Godwin 42, Evans 41, McMillan 28, Egbuka 27. So
the Bucs have lost 7 of their last 8 games, and they no longer control their own destiny. I think if they don't get into the playoffs, I think that we could see Jason Light has done a great job as their GM, but I think we could see them get a new head coach and potentially at least bring in competition at quarterback for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, and I know we already talked about this, but man, would they love to have Liam Cohen as their head coach next year, or even Dave Canales as their head coach next year, but they're gone. Last NFC team is the Washington football team. So this was the Christmas game. Chris Rodriguez pops up with an illness the day before the game, ends up inactive. That allows Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt to operate as the base back, and he takes advantage, shakes up the entire best ball playoffs as he goes 11-105-2. That included a 72-yard touchdown run, which brings up an interesting question, I think, of what will Bill's role be in his second NFL season. He's made some big plays. He clearly can run, but the Commanders benched him for Chris Rodriguez, and they've shown zero trust in him in the past games. So, Evan, any thoughts on JCM and the Commanders' Christmas Day game here against the Cowboys?
I mean, he can run it. He's got some explosive ability. He just hasn't shown the ability to do anything else. Great 6th or 7th round pick or whatever he was. But I don't know. This is another situation where, I mean, Adam Peters is safe, but I don't know what to think about Dan Quinn. This is his defense, and his defense was an absolute sieve. And I know that Jaden Daniels was hurt, but it was just a bad season. So I wonder if there are going to be changes made in Washington in the offseason.
Yeah, I don't particularly like the Commanders staff, but it's hard for me to evaluate when Jaden Daniels only plays 7 games and doesn't play that well really at all in them. So it's tough. And they do not have a lot of talent around Jaden. They need more talent, period. Speaking of which, Deebo Samuel will be a free agent. I actually thought this game on Christmas was one of his better games of the season, but he'll be 30 in January. I don't think he's going to get a big bag. And if he does, I kind of think it'd be a mistake. We're probably going to see Josh Johnson again in Week 18. They're calling Marcus Mariota a long
What's
shot.
the point of playing Josh Johnson? I don't understand it at all. I mean, you're seeing what Miami did. They skipped over Zach Wilson to go with Quinn Ewers. And, I mean, maybe they got some. I mean, this is a worthwhile little trial run with Quinn Ewers. Why wouldn't you look at – I know you got Jeff Driscoll. You got Sam Hartman on the practice squad.
Yeah.
Josh Johnson, I mean, I understand having him as a backup. I think he's a fine backup. I don't understand proactively starting him in almost any scenario.
Yeah, you're right. And maybe they won't. They haven't announced. All they said was Mariota is a long shot for Week 18. So we'll see. There is no better way to get closer to the action for playoff best ball than with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. Right now, our partners at DK are giving new customers a shot to play free for their share of millions of prizes with their first deposit on the DK DFS app. Simply download the app, enter promo code ETR during sign up to play free for your share of millions with your first deposit. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void prohibited. Minimum $5 deposit required. One single-use $3 ticket rewarded that expires in 14 days. Ends December 31st. See terms at DraftKings.com/promotions. Let's go to the AFC now. Start with the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen and the Bills get shut out by the Eagles for 3/4 of this game. Josh tries to rally them late, but they lose 13-12. And it was pouring in this game. I get that. And I hate to keep talking about it every week, but when Brandon Cooks, like basically out of the league, is now leading your team in receiving yards in week 17, it's just hard. So tough one for the Bills here, Evan. They are the 7 seed in the playoffs right now. Thoughts on their loss to the Eagles?
I know that you remember because you nicknamed this player, was it Robert Foster, Australian for, I can't say it.
Yes.
But yeah.
Robert Foster's Australian for beer. And then they had this guy named Foster who was awesome, Australian for sex, because he was playing so well. But yes.
Anyways, that used to be one of the pro Josh Allen arguments. He's throwing to Robert Foster as his number one receiver. And here we are almost a decade later, and it's like it hasn't improved. He did have the Stephon Diggs era, but right now, I mean, it's a shame. It's almost like the pride of Brandon Beane. I always harken back to that interview that he gave, like defending not getting Josh Allen help at outside receiver. And then, you start to lose guys like, Dalton Kincaid is hurt. And I mean, you're really, really short on weapons. They did play arguably the best defense in the NFL in the second half of the season in the Eagles. But, I wish that they had more talent around Josh Allen. I really do. It's like just Josh Allen and James Cook and a pretty good offensive line. Sometimes Dalton Kincaid, but you can't trust his health.
Yeah, and, they took a swing on Keon Coleman, and they whiffed. I mean, Keon Coleman was a healthy scratch again in this game.
Unbelievable.
So Bills are going to be either the 5th, 6th, or 7th seed in the AFC. I still think they're a candidate to rest guys home versus the Jets in week 18. Josh Allen had a small foot issue in this game. Like, he's going to be fine, but would not surprise me if Bills rest guys here in week 18. They might be able to beat the Jets anyways, like with their backups. So we'll see. Browns. After a bit of a malaise, Browns defense wakes up here, holds Steelers to just 6 points in a 13-6 win. Dylan Sampson did get cleared to play in this game, but he only played 18 snaps. Rocket Sanders played 22. Sampson did lead the team in carries with 11, but really inefficient, and he caught 3 balls for 0 yards. So just a really ugly game, as Steelers games can be, and as Browns games can be also. Evan, thoughts on Browns win over Pittsburgh?
The only note that I had was on Harold Fannin, who of course has had a sensational rookie season for a tight end for any rookie.
Yeah.
But he caught an early touchdown, and I think he aggravated the groin injury that was supposed to not be a big deal on the touchdown.
Yep.
And he wound up only playing 12 snaps in the game, and he was really the only guy. I know Dylan Sampson was a little bit of a DFS option, but Harold Fannin was really the only, on a week-to-week basis, the Browns' only legit fantasy play.
I mean, he comes into a situation with David Njoku already on the team, a horrific quarterback situation, and he has one of the best rookie tight end seasons ever. I assume he's not going to play in week 18. Harold Fannin finishes his rookie year, 72 catches, 731 yards, 6 touchdowns. And honestly, I thought he played better than even that stat line sounds like. Like, was really awesome. I don't know if they're going to do a quarterback next year, but Shedeur is not helping himself. Like, if you were to sit here right now, Evan, would you consider Shedeur even in the mix to be a starter for the Browns next year?
I would say that the people that accused the Browns of sabotaging Shedeur Sanders, which is absolutely absurd because they let him start like half the season. He's a 5th-round pick, and that never happens. The people that accused the Browns of sabotaging Shedeur Sanders actually wound up sabotaging Shedeur Sanders' chances of being a starter in the NFL anytime soon, in addition to his own poor play. And he's had moments. I mean, Shedeur Sanders, he has talent. Like, I think that if that cloud around him didn't exist, I think that Shedeur Sanders would have a better chance of getting a legit chance to start in 2026, as is, especially if they clear out the coaching staff. I don't see it. They're going to want to get another quarterback.
Yeah. I think he'll definitely. I mean, they're going to bring in quarterbacks, obviously. I think Shadur projects more as a long term backup as of now. But yeah, he's played better than a normal fifth round quarterback. I'll say that. Not that he's played well, but better than a normal fifth
He's
round
not a
quarterback.
normal fifth round quarterback for sure. I think he was
For
a
sure.
second round talent, which is where Renner had him, kind of compared him to Andy Dalton, who's had an excellent career, started a lot of games in the NFL. It's just this cloud around him of these people that accusing the organization that is starting a fifth round rookie for half of an NFL season. I mean, that's not what happened. The Browns did not sabotage Shedeur Sanders.
Let's go to the Denver Broncos. This was supposed to be an easy win for the Broncos against the Chiefs' third string quarterback. But the Broncos again must claw it out against an inferior opponent. They squeezed past the Chiefs 20-13, but regardless, Broncos are now one win away from securing the AFC's number one seed, even though I feel like they've played down to their competition so often this season. They've just won so many one-score games, and they do it again here. Evan, what did you think of Broncos' win over the Chiefs?
It's games like this where I'm just like, how good are the Broncos really? How good are the Broncos really? They have won a ton of games, and they are locked in. Yeah, they clinched the number one seed in the AFC.
They
But I
still need
still,
they still need to win one more game. The
oh,
Pats
do
or
they?
the
Okay.
Pats or the Jaguars could get the number one seed if the Broncos lose to the Chargers on Sunday. But I do not think
But the
Justin.
Chargers are not starting Justin Herbert. That's right.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
So the Broncos, by all estimations, should absolutely clinch the AFC's number one seed on Sunday against Trey Lance.
Yeah,
No, I mean, I don't really have any big takeaways playing, a team quarterback by Chris Olodokun, who, by the way, did you see the post game interview with him where he sounds exactly like Patrick Mahomes? That was hilarious. But no, the funniest thing I thought was in Travis Kelce's last game at Arrowhead, Sean Payton sticks Patrick Surtain on him, and until the final drive, Travis Kelce, I believe, had 2 catches for 13 yards.
yeah. Uh, as a lifelong Broncos fan since last month, my biggest concern is the defense has underwhelmed. I mean, against Jacksonville had their way for a lot of that game with Denver's defense, and even against the Chiefs' third string quarterback here, they sack him just once. They generate no turnovers. So if the defense is not going to be elite, obviously that's a huge problem for the Broncos in the playoffs.
Pass rush hasn't been quite what it was early in the season, and they've had some injuries at linebacker.
Other note I had was, we talked about Troy Franklin here with Pat Bryant out. Even with Pat Bryant out, Troy Franklin had his role reduced, just 27 routes. I'm sorry, 18 routes for Franklin, 27 for Mims, 27 for Little Jordan Humphrey. So just a week to week weird stuff with secondary pieces of Sean Payton offenses. And that's just, what we need to expect on a week to week basis. Adam Troutman ran a few more routes than Evan Ingram in this game also. Let's go to Texans. Texans go into LA on Saturday night, beat the Chargers, further making their case to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. I mean, Texans are definitely live. This was a weird game. The Texans jumped out to a 14-0 lead. Stroud hit Jaden Higgins for a bomb. He hits Jalen Noel for a TD. But then after that, Stroud couldn't do anything, not even to Nico Collins, who saw just 4 targets in this game. So it was a weird one, but Texans hold on. Evan, what do you think of their win over the Chargers?
Well, the game was really decided by Cameron Dicker. I mean, he missed a field goal, a chip shot field goal, and an extra point, and that was the difference. It was a 4-point win for the Texans.
Yeah.
And Dicker had been like an awesome kicker up until that point. But that's kind of the games that the Texans have to squeak out because their offense is so, I wouldn't even say up and down. It's mostly down. They did get Woody Marks back. I thought he looked fine from a health standpoint. They are giving Jawar Jordan an opportunity, to kind of give their running game a spark, which it needed. I like to see that, but we know what the Texans are. They win with their defense and their offense. The job for the offense is to not give the ball to the other team and to get whatever it can.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't already over for Nick Chubb, it's definitely over now. He got 1 carry in this game, and Jawar Jordan got 8. So, just over for Nick Chubb. Texans are the 5 seed right now. They have clinched a playoff spot. If they win in Week 18 and the Jaguars lose, they still win the AFC South, and they'll be the 3 seed. If the Texans lose, they could fall down as low as the 7 seed. So they have plenty to play for. Jaguars and Texans play at the same time on Sunday. Colts lose to the Jaguars. Phillip Rivers 0-3 as a starter. They're going to start Riley Leonard in Week 18. So, just a sad end to the Colts season. The team was the story of the NFL for the first couple months. So just a really, really rough end. Obviously, quarterback play had a lot to do with it. Biggest fantasy impact, Evan, was the sputtering out of Jonathan Taylor in the fantasy playoffs. Usage remains unreal, but everything out of shotgun, offensive line performing worse, no threat of a downfield passing game. Jonathan Taylor, 4 straight games at 3.5 yards per carry or less to end his special season. Evan, what do you think of Colts' loss to the Jags?
Well, if you look at the way that Phillip Rivers performed in his 3 starts, he played Seattle, 49ers, Jaguars. He kind of lit up the 49ers, and he was brutal against Seattle and Jacksonville. I mean, obviously there's context there. He's 44 years old, off the couch, fat, whatever. But I mean, it kind of just goes to show how vulnerable that 49ers defense is.
For sure.
So that's kind of my little takeaway there. But I'm excited to see Riley Leonard play in the final game. Unfortunately, it's against the freaking Texans. So I think he'll probably look bad, but he was an exciting runner at Notre Dame. In the one year they went to the national championship game, got smoked by Ohio State. He is not a downfield passer whatsoever, but he can run it a little bit. I don't know, maybe he'll have some exciting moments as a runner.
Yeah, we'll be talking about him on Friday just because he is a very good runner, is Riley Leonard. JT is completely off the grid now for offensive player of the year. Jackson Smith-Njigba is the favorite for offensive player of the year. I think Christian McCaffrey has a case too, although he's going to win comeback player of the year most likely. And there's some long shot stuff on Bijan Robinson where he maybe has a case, but the team being so bad probably hurts him. It's probably going to be JSN offensive player of the year, which is crazy because JT was just so far ahead for so much of the year on that award. Jaguars go to Indy. The offense was not as sharp as it's been. They only get 5.4 yards per play. Trevor Lawrence throws no touchdown passes, but he runs for 2 more. I mean, Trevor Lawrence now has 9 rushing touchdowns this season. I mean, wild stuff. Only Josh Allen has more rushing touchdowns from the quarterback position than Trevor Lawrence. So, Evan, what do you think of T-Law and the Jags getting another win this time at Indy?
Loved it. They did kind of sleepwalk through the first half of the game, and that's not that uncommon for teams that are coming back from playing the previous week in Denver. I know that there's some betting stuff out there, like teams that, the week after playing at Denver, they have a severely losing record or they underperform significantly. It's not surprising based on the altitude and everything. But Trevor Lawrence, man, what a season. I mean, a true breakout season. In fantasy, Trevor Lawrence is the number 3 overall quarterback behind only Josh Allen and Drake May. Liam Cohen, miracle worker, and it helps that all the dudes around him are healthy. How about Parker Washington?
Yeah.
Shout out Penn State.
Yeah.
One of the best slot receivers in the NFL.
I mean, I'm curious what you think about this long term. I thought Parker Washington would fall off once Jacoby and Brian Thomas Jr. and Brenton Strange were all healthy. But 2 straight weeks now, Parker Washington has led the team in receiving, and he ran 41 routes on 43 Trevor Lawrence dropbacks in this game. That's a few more than Brian Thomas Jr.
They were heavy 11 personnel.
Yeah. Do you think this Parker Washington stuff is sticky through the playoffs?
Man, I don't know. We'll get to that when we get to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, 81% of the snaps. Parker Washington has 4 games this season with double-digit targets. Trevor Lawrence obviously loves him. It's just he doesn't always get the playing time to cooperate when the other guys are healthy. But in this game, he did, and the
Yeah.
guys were healthy.
Trevor
Um,
Lawrence throws it to him when he's covered also. Like there were a couple of throws in this game where Parker Washington was clearly covered and T-Law still threw it to him and he made the play. It's like, yeah, it's been impressive for sure.
he's great with the ball in his hands. I know the YouTube commenters will hate this, but Parker Washington also has 2 punt return touchdowns this year. So it's good in the NFL. It's good in athletic competitions to be a good athlete, and Parker Washington has that in his favor.
Jaguars are the 3 seed right now, but if they lose in week 18, they're home against the Titans and the Texans win, then the Texans will be the AFC champs. Jags will be on the road in the wild card. But yeah, all they got to do is beat the Texans. All they got to do is beat the Titans at home to the Jaguars, and they will be at least the 3 seed in the AFC. Chiefs. Chiefs were down to their third string quarterback, Chris Oladukin here. He throws for just 66 yards. Their leading rusher is Kareem Hunt with 38. And somehow the Chiefs still stay in this game. Lose 20-13. May have been Travis Kelce's final home game. Evan, thoughts on Chiefs' latest playing out the string?
My notes are Oladukin sounds just like Mahomes. Sean Payton stuck Patrick Surtain on Travis Kelce. Andy Reid needs to stop searching for his next Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
Andy Reid did say that he plans on coming back for another season. Some of the tape watchers that I trust think that the edges that Andy Reid used to have are no longer there. That I don't want to say the game has passed him by, but just other offensive strategists have passed him by. Now, his quarterback just tore his ACL and his LCL, and the offensive line has been a problem for the majority of the year. But I don't know. Andy Reid's 68. He says he plans on coming back if the Chiefs will have him back.
I think, they need better pieces. Running back, like Brashard Smith scored here. Clearly, they need running back help. They barely played Brashard Smith. Like he was active in almost every game, but only got around 10 snaps per game. But they got to find someone with some juice at running back. And then Xavier Worthy is going to be a really tough evaluation in the offseason. Like I've seen so many plays where he has such little awareness, including in this one. He should have had a catch for a nice long gain, but he stepped out of bounds for no reason. So there's been a lot of those plays for Xavier Worthy in his career. But yeah, certainly rough year.
That's why I wrote down Andy Reid needs to give it up on trying to find Deshaun Jackson because, some guys are just unicorns.
Yeah.
And I think that Deshaun Jackson, you remember over the years, like dudes coming out of college, how many times, he reminds me of Deshaun Jackson. None of those guys ever turned out to be Deshaun Jackson. I think that Xavier Worthy is not going to be Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, I thought Will Fuller was for a little bit, and then he just
he was.
and then just evaporated from the league. So yeah. Raiders. Raiders tried hard to lose this game. They shut down Brock Bowers. They shut down Max Crosby. The guys they left play like they have all season, horribly. Geno Smith hurts his ankle. They lose 34-10 to the Giants, but it's probably a good thing for the franchise. They are now in position to get the number 1 overall pick. Everyone assumes they'll take quarterback, Evan. You mentioned Dante Moore from Oregon. If he comes out, Fernando Mendoza from Indiana is the other option, but they do need to lose one more game to secure that number 1 overall pick. Evan, thoughts on Raiders' embarrassing tank job against the Giants?
Yeah, my sense is that it's going to be Mendoza because Tom Brady is going to see a lot of, himself in Fernando Mendoza, I believe. That would be my guess at this stage. I don't really have anything else to say about the Raiders. The Raiders are terrible. We know that. It didn't matter whether or not Pete Carroll was going to, sit Ashton Genty. The Raiders were just bad.
Yeah.
And Ashton Genty wound up with 18 touches and not a whole lot of production. It was nice to see Michael Mayer cook a little bit, though. 9 catches on 10 targets for 89 yards. I believe that Michael Mayer is a starting caliber tight end in the NFL.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't think they intended to take Brock Bowers. They didn't think Brock Bowers would be there for them in that draft. And if Michael Mayer just had this job all to himself, a lot more people would know Michael Mayer. I think he's been very good anytime Bowers has been out. We'll see on Pete Carroll. My sense is he's probably going to be gone, Pete Carroll, but we'll see. Chargers. Really tough loss here for the Chargers against the Texans. Like Justin Herbert, and I never complain about the officials, but I try not to. Justin Herbert should have gotten the ball back down 4 at the very end. Instead, refs throw a flag for a very questionable illegal contact call, and Chargers lose. That means that the Chargers will be a wild card team in the AFC and be on the road here in round 1. Evan, what do you think of Chargers' loss to the Texans?
Close game decided by, the kicker.
Yeah.
I think that the interesting thing here is that the Chargers are going to give Justin Herbert a deserved week off. I don't think that they really, have a whole lot of hope of like Trey Lance, turning into something special. But, Justin Herbert has taken an amazing amount of hits behind one of the worst offensive lines in the league. They lost 2 all-pro caliber left tackles, we know, on and on. And he's playing with a broken hand. So it's nice that the Chargers will be able to rest him for a week. Also, Kamani Vidal, I don't think he'll play either.
Yeah. So he didn't play in this game with that neck injury. That allowed Amari Hampton to play 51 of 63 snaps. That is way more than he normally plays because normally Vidal is in there. And, I mean, you see the upside for Hampton. Goal line back, and he caught 8 passes in this game. So you can see how it can be really clean for Amari Hampton when Vidal is out. Or maybe next year he gets a more full role to have really big fantasy upside. I don't know if you have a Ladd McConkey take, Evan. This has been one of the most disappointing year 2 wide receiver seasons I can remember. Brian Thomas Jr. and Ladd McConkey, just both absolutely brutal. Ladd McConkey in this game, 1 catch on 2 targets. Any thoughts on long-term here on Ladd?
The offense has taken on so many different forms throughout the course of the season, and they're loaded up on pass catchers. I mean, Quentin Johnson obviously was up and down. Everyone was up and down in the offense, but they have so many dudes. I mean, Oronde Gadsden kind of came out of nowhere as a 5th-round pick, and he was like a real factor. Keenan Allen did more than anybody, than most people, anticipated, I think, at this stage of his career. And then just all the offensive line injuries. I mean, Herbert himself went through a stretch like week 7 through 15 where he didn't have a game where he threw for more than 250 yards, and he only had 1 game where he threw for more than 220 yards. It was such a roller coaster of a season. Then I don't think I'm going to hold anything against Ladd McConkey. He was an elite dudes that are what was he? Was he an early 2nd-round pick?
Yes.
And he had an elite yards per route run as a rookie. Yeah. So I think he still belongs in that bucket where we should bounce. We should bet on this offense to bounce back big time. I think getting back Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater is going to be so huge. So no, I'm not down on Ladd McConkey at all.
Okay. Dolphins continue to play competitive football. I mean, even with Quinn Ewers under center, facing a very motivated Bucs team, Dolphins win for the 6th time in their last 9 games. And they did it with Jalen Waddle leaving this game after 9 routes with a rib injury. So credit to the Dolphins for at least playing hard here after they got off to such a horrific start this season. Evan, what do you think of Dolphins win over the Bucs?
Yeah, I think it's been nice to get a chance to see Quinn Ewers. He's averaging 8.3 yards per pass attempt through 2 starts. And as you mentioned, he barely had Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle played 14 snaps in this game. So, I mean, I don't know that Quinn Ewers is going to be a starter or anything, but I mean, he looks like a guy who belongs in the league, and you have him on a 7th-round rookie contract for the next 3 years after this. But he keeps his eyes downfield. That's kind of bad for Devon Achane, who has not been producing in the receiving game with Quinn Ewers at quarterback. But you like that he keeps his eyes downfield.
Weird stuff this time of year for anyone playing DFS. Like, just out of nowhere, the game plan was, let's get the ball to Greg Dulcich. I mean, the first half was crazy. I think Greg Dulcich had 6 targets in the first half on 14 routes. Darren Waller only ran 13 routes here on 28 Quinn Ewers dropbacks. So yeah, some weird stuff, but credit to the Dolphins and my boy Mike McDaniel.
Also weird, this random note that I have on Greg Dulcich. I was listening to an interview with him after the game, and he sounds like a straight nerd. I mean, like potentially really smart. He went to freaking UCLA, but man, he was a nerdy sounding dude.
All right. You can only get that stuff here. Patriots. I mean, the Jets are just an absolute joke. We've been talking for a few weeks about how the Jets have the stone cold worst defense in the NFL, but you still have to take advantage, and Drake May did that. Drake May 4 touchdowns in the first half, 5 touchdowns overall. He would have had like 10 touchdowns if they didn't rest Drake May for the final quarter plus. And now Drake May, who I believe Evan has at like 60-1 or something crazy, Drake May is the overwhelming favorite to be the NFL's MVP. Evan, it was a celebration more than a game. What do you think of Patriots steamrolling of the Jets?
Yeah, we're doing this Tuesday late morning, and as of this show, Drake May is the minus 400 favorite to be the NFL MVP. He threw 5 touchdown passes in this game in less than 3 quarters before Josh Dobbs came in. And I think it's important to remember that this Patriots offensive line is super banged up, which gives them sort of like a higher ceiling when they get these guys back, like Will Campbell and Jared Wilson, for the playoffs. I mean, I know that people like to, take away from the Patriots. They don't like the Patriots because the Patriots have been on top, and I get that. But and so they would like hold the schedule against them. Patriots are really good, man. Yeah. They have an MVP caliber quarterback. They have an offensive line that'll begin to get. They play so hard on defense. Vrabel is a great coach. They can absolutely make a run. They're not any kind of a fraudulent team.
Agreed. From a DFS perspective, I just want to note, like, sometimes it's hard to stack Drake May. A lot of times I think it's really hard to stack Drake May confidently. But I did play Drake May in the 3K on DraftKings this past week with Diggs and Kyle Williams because Mac Hollins and Kayshon Boutte were inactive and Pop Douglas was coming off an injury. And so you see Steph Diggs have his second straight just unstoppable game. He looks amazing. Kyle Williams disappointed, but he was out there a ton. I will say, as we're recording this, there's been some troubling news come out about Steph Diggs off-field stuff. We don't have details about that yet, so I don't really want to comment. But yeah, that is out there at least, and we should note that. As for the running back spot, which has been a huge subject in fantasy, Travion Henderson ends up with far more carries than Ramondre, 19-8. But some of that was in garbage time. And Ramondre continues to be the one that gets the passing down reps. That leads to Ramondre getting 5 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown. And Ramondre got the goal line carry, 1 yard touchdown there. So I get people want Travion to like take over and dominate. He's playing the Jets. He's going to score 100 points. Like, they like Ramondre. And Ramondre is a big part of the team. Patriots are the 2 seed. They are the AFC East champs. They can clinch the 2 seed with a win over the Dolphins on Sunday. If Patriots win and Broncos lose, Patriots will be the number 1 seed. But as we already noted, Chargers are resting starters. So Broncos are probably going to win that game. Jets. I mean, Jets are just trying to get it over with. This was like an NFL team against a college team, or maybe an NFL team against a high school team. Just total embarrassment. Only note that I had was Breece Hall continues to ball. Patriots have struggled to defend the run. Breece goes for 111 rush yards and a touchdown. Did bang up his knee. Isaiah Davis got a concussion. They'll play out the string against the Bills in Week 18. That's about all I had on the Jets. Evan, anything for you on Jets loss to the Patriots?
No, I think Breece Hall's free agency is going to be pretty interesting.
Yep.
The Jets in the month of December. So, they have a new coach, obviously. You look at a team like the Bears, they have a new coach, and their trajectory has largely been upward. The Jets in the month of December under Aaron Glenn, 0-4 with a minus 107 point differential. That is abysmal.
It's really bad. And like, there's like no hope either. They have Garrett Wilson, who is a nice piece, but they have like nothing to cling to really. It's really, really tough. Although I thought they made a good deal in the Sauce Gardner deal. to get some draft picks. But besides that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that their GM Darren Moogie might be sharp.
Okay, good. Steelers. Steelers went to Cleveland without DK Metcalf and scored just 6 points. Aaron Rodgers dropped back 44 times and musters just 168 pass yards, no touchdowns. MVS, yes, Marquez Valdez-Scantling led the team in targets. Your leaders in routes were MVS, Thielen, and Scotty Miller. I mean, just a mess in terms of weaponry. Evan, what do you think of Steelers' loss to the Browns?
Yeah, I mean, the offense just completely sputtered against a really good defense in a tough place to play without their top two receivers. So, I mean, the Steelers all day, it didn't matter who it was. Kenneth Gainwell had been playing well. Nobody made any plays in the game.
Yeah.
So they scored, 6 points? Yeah, and lost 13-6. And now their playoff hopes are not assured. They'll be playing on Sunday night against Baltimore.
Yep. Last game of Week 18, winner goes to the playoffs as the AFC North winner between the Steelers and Ravens. Ravens, this game is in Pittsburgh. Ravens are favored by 3.5 points. And so, yeah, market not giving a lot of respect to the Steelers here in this spot.
You mentioned that Adam Thielen, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Scotty Miller were the Steelers' three-receiver set. They combined for 60 scoreless yards on 21 targets against the Browns. I mean, you can't play offense like that.
Last team today is the Tennessee Titans. This was another fun Cam Ward game. I mean, Titans put up 26 points, but they lose late to the Saints. Titans are now 3-13. If the season ended today, they would pick 4th. My only note here, Evan, and I think you'll like this one, there's something there with Chimere Dike. He set the NFL rookie record for most all-purpose yards in a single season, breaking Tim Brown's record. 1988. This record has stood since. More than 2,300 all-purpose yards for Chimere Dike here. That's receiving, rushing, and return game. Now, I get that a lot of that came in the return game. He was an awesome returner, but that's right up Evan's alley. Dude is clearly elusive at the NFL level, which is the first step to being a good player. So I at least have my eye on him. Evan, any other Titans thoughts here as they play out the string?
Yeah, Chimere Dike, a common comparison for him was Tyler Lockett, who also was an awesome return man. Especially in college at K-State, Tyler Lockett was sensational on returns. But yeah, Chimere Dike, in addition to being a starting receiver, returned kicks and punts for Tennessee. I thought that Cam Ward, really shaky out of the gate, solid to end the season in the second half of the year. So I think that the Titans, I don't want to say for sure, but I think that you can be optimistic that Cam Ward can be the answer at quarterback for them.
Agreed. All right. That will do it for another edition of the Team by Team Show. Please note, this show does run through Super Bowl week. Starting next week, we will cover only the teams that are still alive. So, 14 teams we will cover next week. And then the week after that, we'll cover the teams that are left and keep going until the Super Bowl. So be sure to stay tuned to YouTube. We'll also hopefully be getting some good interviews coming up. And we're going to do Man vs. Machine recap and a bunch of other fun stuff here in the next month or two. So be sure you are subscribed here on YouTube. It is indeed free. For Evan, producer Ryan, producer Luke, for everyone behind the scenes at ETR, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.